Omaha, Nebraska, operates as a precision-built reception hub within the national machinery of unchecked mass immigration. Far from representing spontaneous settlement driven by individual choice, the city maintains a deliberate, taxpayer-financed apparatus that systematically intercepts illegal immigrants, asylum seekers, and federally resettled refugees the moment they cross the southern border or land at Eppley Airfield. This infrastructure channels every newcomer into immediate housing, medical care, legal representation, employment placement, and public education with mechanical efficiency. The process begins the instant a migrant is released by federal authorities or self-arrives in the metropolitan area, guaranteeing that no individual falls outside the reception net regardless of legal status or criminal background. The system's architecture remains remarkably compact, yet extraordinarily effective. Fewer than 10 core gateway organizations function as the sole entry points for virtually the entire migrant flow into the city. These entities control initial intake, conduct needs assessments, and distribute clients across a pre-existing web of supporting organizations that includes non-governmental organizations, faith-based charities, public school districts, and major corporate employers. The result is a self-reinforcing absorption complex that converts raw border arrivals into permanent residents within weeks. This pipeline has proven resilient even against the drastic reduction in border crossings experienced throughout 2025, demonstrating that once the internal reception machinery is constructed and funded, external border enforcement becomes largely irrelevant to the continued demographic transformation of the city. The consequences manifest as a permanent fiscal hemorrhage extracted from American citizens, while simultaneously engineering irreversible changes to Omaha's demographic composition. Local taxpayers finance bilingual education programs, emergency medical care, and shelter operations through Federal Office of Refugee, Resettlement grants, and FEMA allocations that flow through ostensibly private charities. Meanwhile, meat processing conglomerates secure a continuous supply of low-wage labor whose social costs are externalized onto the public. The machinery operates with such precision that the foreign-born population continues expanding despite national policy shifts, proving that Omaha exemplifies a completed model of state-sponsored population replacement driven by an entrenched, taxpayer-subsidized reception apparatus. Part 1. The Gateway Shelters, Command and Control Centers of Absorption. Every migrant entering Omaha, whether delivered by federal contractors on commercial flights or arriving undocumented in private vehicles, must pass through one of a strictly limited set of physical locations that serve as the absolute choke points of the entire absorption system. Omaha welcomes the stranger, the Center for Immigrant and Refugee Advancement, the Omaha Center for Refugee and Immigrant Services, the International Council for Refugees and Immigrants, Restoring Dignity, and Lutheran Family Services collectively monopolize the primary reception layer. These organizations provide the critical first nights of shelter, food vouchers, clothing, transportation stipends, and case management assignments that initiate permanent resettlement. Several maintain deliberately opaque operational footprints, utilizing pop-up facilities or withholding exact addresses from public records, thereby shielding their activities from meaningful citizen scrutiny. Funding streams flow predominantly through Federal Office of Refugee Resettlement grants, FEMA shelter and services program allocations, and pass-through dollars routed via national contractors, such as Catholic Charities and Lutheran Immigration and Refugee Service. These taxpayer-derived resources enable the gateway shelters to perform sophisticated triage operations immediately upon arrival. Case managers conduct rapid assessments of legal status, family composition, health needs, and employment potential, then generate individualized absorption plans that lock clients into the downstream support network. This centralized intake model functions with military-style efficiency, ensuring that no migrant remains outside the system for more than 72 hours and effectively eliminating any realistic possibility of voluntary departure or self-deportation. The gateway shelters do not operate as mere charitable enterprises. They serve as command and control centers for the entire Omaha reception complex. Within days of arrival, clients receive appointments with legal service providers, medical screenings at designated clinics, school enrollment paperwork for children, and employment interviews with pre-vetted corporate partners. The immediate referral into legal, medical, educational, and employment tracks transforms transient border crossers into entrenched residents subsidized by American taxpayers. This operational design guarantees that even during periods of minimal new arrivals, the existing infrastructure stands ready to process and absorb the next surge the moment political conditions permit. The gateway shelters thus represent the foundational layer of an irreversible demographic transformation apparatus financed and protected by layers of federal funding and religious-affiliated nonprofit status. Part 2. The supporting web, charities, churches, and NGOs as force multipliers. The secondary layer of Omaha's absorption apparatus consists of a tightly coordinated directorate of charities, churches, and non-governmental organizations that vastly expands the capacity of the primary gateway shelters. Catholic Charities of Omaha stands as the dominant financial and logistical backbone, channeling millions in federal pass-through dollars and private donations into legal services, rental assistance, and emergency overflow housing. Nebraska Appleseed supplies litigation and advocacy that shield the entire network from legal challenge, while Creighton University Magus Clinic delivers free medical care financed partly through university endowments and state reimbursements. Whispering Roots operates urban farms that double as food distribution points for migrant families, and dozens of ethnic mutual aid societies, Karen, Sudanese, Yazidi, Afghan, function as parallel welfare systems that operate beneath official scrutiny. Churches amplify this structure beyond anything secular organizations could achieve alone. St. Michael Lutheran prepares hundreds of meals weekly for shelter residents. Urban Abbey coordinates interfaith apartment sponsorships, and Catholic parishes throughout South Omaha maintain undeclared spare bedrooms and basements that serve as unofficial emergency shelters during peak arrivals. These religious entities enjoy a unique advantage. They receive direct federal grants through the Office of Refugee Resettlement while simultaneously collecting tax-deductible donations that are never required to be itemized for migrant-specific expenditure. This dual revenue stream creates an unassailable funding fortress. When one parish reaches capacity, another simply absorbs the overflow under the banner of charity rather than government contract. At the center sits the Omaha Refugee Task Force, an unelected coalition that functions as the nervous system of the entire machine. Its memoranda of understanding bind every participating organization into a mutual acceptance pact. A client denied or ejected by one agency is automatically redirected to another. This redundancy guarantees continuity even when individual actors face funding cuts, lawsuits, or public exposure. The result is a resilient, self-healing ecosystem that operates with the precision of a military supply chain, ensuring that no migrant, regardless of legal status, ever falls through the cracks long enough to trigger self-deportation or genuine hardship that might deter future arrivals. Part 3. Employment, the economic magnet and fiscal trap. Meatpacking and food processing conglomerates constitute the gravitational core that keeps the entire Omaha absorption complex in motion. JBS, Tyson Foods, Nebraska Beef, Omaha Steaks, ConAgra, and smaller plants such as Glen Valley Foods have historically filled 60 to 80% of production line positions with undocumented workers and freshly arrived refugees. Resettlement agencies maintain dedicated placement pipelines that deliver pre-screened, often English as second language trained laborers directly to plant gates within weeks of intake. Employers pay wages insufficient to cover local housing costs. Knowing that Catholic Charities, Lutheran Family Services, and city-funded emergency programs will subsidize rent, utilities, and medical care for the workers and their families. The June 2025 Immigration and Customs Enforcement raid at Glen Valley Foods exposed the depth of this dependency in stark terms. 76 illegal workers were removed in a single morning, causing an immediate 30% drop in production capacity. Management openly admitted that Native applicants refused the positions even when offered sign-on bonuses, confirming that the business model depends on a permanent supply of desperate foreign labor willing to accept submarket wages and hazardous conditions. Construction firms, hospitality chains, and delivery services replicate the same arrangement, citing exhausted H-2B visa caps as justification while continuing off-the-books hiring that evades enforcement. This arrangement creates a textbook fiscal trap for American taxpayers. Corporations extract maximum profit from low-cost labor while externalizing virtually every social cost onto the public. Housing subsidies flow through resettlement grants. Emergency medical care lands on hospital balance sheets, reimbursed by state funds. And children of these workers consume bilingual education programs financed by local property taxes. The meatpacking giants thus operate a highly profitable enterprise whose true operating expenses are borne not by shareholders, but by citizens who never consented to the arrangement and receive no portion of the profits. The system is deliberately structured so that any serious attempt to remove the illegal workforce would collapse entire sectors of the regional economy overnight, thereby manufacturing political pressure to maintain the status quo indefinitely. Part 4. Education and long-term entrenchment. Capturing the next generation. Omaha public schools stand as the ultimate lock-in mechanism of the entire absorption apparatus. Under the 1982 Plyler v. Doe ruling, every child residing in the district must be enrolled without regard to immigration status, forcing the system to absorb thousands of non-English-speaking students whose parents often arrived illegally or under temporary humanitarian programs. Current enrollment records show more than 5,000 foreign-born pupils and over 11,000 classified as English learners. A population that demands an army of bilingual aides, specialized curricula, and extended instructional hours. Property taxpayers bear the full weight of these expenses, estimated at $10 million annually for language services alone, with no mechanism for recusal or reimbursement. The Yates Welcome Center at 3215 Cumming Street functions as the educational counterpart to the Gateway shelters. New families are processed, tested, and immediately slotted into schools across South Omaha and Benson, ensuring zero downtime between arrival and public subsidy. The district's dual language immersion programs, originally sold as temporary bridges to English proficiency, have metastasized into permanent parallel tracks that preserve Spanish, Karen, Arabic, and other languages at public expense. These programs now span kindergarten through 12th grade in at least 10 buildings, requiring duplicate materials, separate teacher cohorts, and ongoing translation services. Title IC Migrant Education funds flow from the Nebraska Department of Education to support mobile students whose families follow seasonal meatpacking or construction work, further entrenching the cycle. Adult education operates in tandem. The University of Nebraska Omaha Refugee Education and Employment Program, along with similar initiatives at Metropolitan Community College, delivers free English classes, GED preparation, and vocational certificates explicitly tailored to keep parents employable in the same low-wage industries that recruited them. This synchronized generational pipeline guarantees that children raised in taxpayer-funded linguistic enclaves will themselves enter the same economic niche occupied by their parents. The outcome is the deliberate cultivation of self-reproducing ethnic colonies that remain linguistically and culturally separate while drawing continuously on public resources. Successive cohorts of students graduate with limited English proficiency, yet sufficient credentials to secure entry-level positions at the same slaughterhouses and factories that originally pulled their families northward. Omaha public schools thus complete the replacement circuit. The district does not Americanize the incoming population. It institutionalizes foreign identity across generations, locking the city into an escalating cycle of expenditure with no endpoint in sight. Conclusion: Omaha's hidden immigrant pipeline, shelters, NGOs, employers, and schools exposed. The Omaha Immigrant Absorption Complex operates as a precision-engineered demographic conveyor belt hidden in plain sight. a handful of gateway shelters and resettlement offices, bankrolled by Federal Office of Refugee, Resettlement grants, and church collections, intercept virtually every migrant who reaches the city limits. From those choke points, an interlocking lattice of non-governmental organizations, Catholic Charities affiliates, Lutheran agencies, and ethnic mutual aid societies distributes newcomers into housing, medical clinics, legal defense funds, and ultimately into the slaughterhouses and food processing plants that form the economic core of the operation. Major employers such as JBS, Tyson, Nebraska Beef, and Glen Valley Foods extract profit from labor whose healthcare, education, and welfare costs are systematically offloaded onto taxpayers. Public schools seal the process by enrolling children without question and maintaining them in parallel linguistic tracks funded by local property taxes. The machinery has proven impervious even to dramatic 2025 policy reversals. The near-total suspension of the United States Refugee Admissions Program in January and large-scale workplace enforcement actions throughout the year removed only a fraction of the embedded population, while the internal reception infrastructure remained intact and fully funded. Corporations briefly faced labor shortages after immigration and customs enforcement raids. Yet the pipeline quickly adjusted by drawing from existing resident pools and secondary migration from other states. Omaha public schools continued to register new students whose parents arrived years earlier, demonstrating that once the absorption apparatus is constructed, border closures alone cannot reverse the momentum. Citizens retain no meaningful oversight or veto power over these organizations. Funding streams, federal block grants, FEMA shelter allocations, tax-deductible donations flow without local referendum. Residents finance the schools that educate the next generation, the hospitals that treat the uninsured, and the courts that process the asylum claims, while receiving no direct benefit and no mechanism to halt the process. Omaha, therefore, exemplifies the terminal stage of managed demographic replacement, a self-perpetuating system that no longer requires fresh border crossings to continue expanding. The apparatus does not integrate newcomers into an existing American community. It overlays a new, publicly subsidized population atop the old one, completing a quiet conquest executed through bureaucratic efficiency rather than overt force. The city has become a fully realized laboratory of engineered transformation, and its model now stands ready for replication across the remainder of the country.